I want to let you guys know that my life began to change when I took ownership mentality extremely serious. See, there was a period of my life where I thought I knew what ownership mentality was. There was a time in my life where I thought I owned everything and I was 100% responsible and I was totally accountable and I was totally in line with my integrity regarding ownership mentality. But I got to tell you guys, looking back, yeah, I owned a lot of the things that were going well. When business was going well, yeah, I owned it. When my health was going well, I owned it. But you know what I realized? That at the same time, simultaneous, all the things that weren't going well in my life, I never owned. I passed off the responsibility. I put it on somebody else. And at times I was struggling with my health. And you know what I would say? I'd say, it's just my disease and it's something that I have to live with. I've struggled in the past with relationships with people that I know and respect. And you know what? It was never my fault. It was never my problem. It was always on them. I've had times in my life where my personal growth has been stifled. It's been stale, where I got out of reading books, or I got away from podcasts, or I got away from developing myself. Guess what? I didn't take ownership of that. So my idea of ownership mentality was owning the things that were working well because they were easy. And it wasn't until I started taking 100% ownership, everything in my life, that my life actually began to change. So where did I start? The first place to start is with your language. That's the first place, is start with your language, because what happens is that when you change your language, it starts to shape your mindset. So I started saying things like, I choose to be happy. I don't have to be happy. I choose to be happy. And by making it a choice, you own that choice. I choose to be happy. I choose to be healthy. I choose to not drink alcohol, and I choose to eat healthy food. I choose, it's my decision. I'm gonna own it. I choose to be financially flourishing. I choose to have a great marriage. Are things always great? No, but I'm choosing to get through it. The choice is always ours. And yes, there's gonna be obstacles along the way, but you choose how you handle it. In 2009, when I had my resection for my surgery, I had to make some decisions. I had to decide, because there was a lot of weeks and even months in that year where I felt down. I felt like it was the end. I felt like I was a victim of the disease. I felt like I was succumbing to my disease. I felt like I was going to be just a Crohn's patient, a Crohn's casualty throughout the year. And I had to make some decisions. I had to own it. I had to own the path forward. I had to own that I was where I was for reasons beyond my understanding, but I could own how I acted and what that story was going to become. And I had to take ownership in that moment. See, it's easy to take ownership when everything's going well. It's easy to take ownership when the world is just lobbing up lob balls. But it's difficult to take ownership at rock bottom. We always want to pass the buck. We always want to blame somebody else. It's somebody else's fault. It's the environment. No, it's our responsibility to take ownership of the moment. The people in our lives that take the most ownership of their life, they're always the best people to be around. And they're the best people to be around because they're the most self-aware. Don't you love hanging around self-aware people? Don't you love hanging around people that understand who they are and they've come to terms with that? I mean, the opposite is people that are full of delusion. See, delusion kills that mindset. Delusional people are some of the most non-self-aware people on the planet. And when you're delusional, that's the opposite of ownership mentality. So if we love being around those people, the people that are self-aware, if we love being around the people that take ownership, we can learn from that and become more like those people. You know, people always ask me, so how do you take ownership? Where do you start? Well, there's three things that I focus on. The first one is you got to get clear on the person that you want to become. You really got to be clear on the person that you want to become. Think about what makes you feel the most alive. Think about that and start to work towards becoming more of that person. There's nothing more that I want in my life to feel more alive every day. More alive and more alive. There's nothing worse than going through the day and feeling dead and feeling flat and feeling emotionless. And then being around those people, same thing. We can suck the life out of people if we are that person. The second thing is this. We need to understand what is in control in our life. We need to really understand, what do we have control over? It's really our effort and our attitude. Those are really the two things that we have control over. And then on the flip side, we have to understand what we don't have control over, right? Yes, I did not necessarily have control over me getting Crohn's disease. I didn't necessarily have control over losing my bowel, having my rectum taken out, having my colon taken out. I didn't directly have control over those things. Did we try and change the narrative before it happened? Yeah. Did we cut out gluten and dairy? Was I on medication since I was 2? Did my mom and dad do everything that they could to try and avoid the surgery for me? Everything. But there's certain things that I can control and there's certain things that I can't control. But knowing that, I have to take ownership of the entire situation. And the third thing is to stop blaming people and circumstances. Stop blaming people and circumstances. Respond with intention rather than reacting to the world. We're in a society now where it's everybody else's fault. It's everybody else's responsibility. Everybody wants to pass the buck. Everybody's so quick to hop online and give their opinion. And if you don't have the same opinion as somebody else, they think that you're a loser. And then we get on there and we call them names. And if you're not on the right side, you're on the left side. If you're on the left side, you're on the right side. You know, everybody is expected to be a certain. I love when people DM me and go, hey, aren't you going to comment on this social thing? Shouldn't you put a post regarding this social thing that's happening? I said, you don't tell me what I post. You don't tell me how I need to think. I'm not going to be influenced by what you think I should or shouldn't think. I'm going to own my decisions and you need to own yours. Everybody's so quick to tell everybody else what they should be doing, but there's very little ownership on the personal responsibility side. So listen, as I wrap up, just find ways to take more ownership. Look for opportunities in your life to take more ownership. You're going to be way happier and your heart's going to be way more full of gratitude for what you have, because when it's everybody else's fault or you feel like you're out of control and everything else is out of our control and all the government and all this stuff, when you're caught in that zone, it leads to a very unhappy scarcity. You want to live under a rock and ask yourself what this is all for, and that's not a healthy way to live. So that's something that I had to come to realization with in my life, and hopefully some of that resonated with you today. So I appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you on the next one.